Hello, friends and family. I'm still David Michael Smingy. I'm still here. So's Brita, so's Perrin. It's a great day. Boy, there's just a lot happening this week, isn't there? From the Lions and the Packers playing just now to the election happening shortly and all that will mean. And then on top of that, there's a Global Missions Health Conference that Britt and I usually go to every year. That's happening down in Louisville, Kentucky, and we're sad to miss it because Britt is going for more brain surgery. So I believe I left off last time I talked, essentially that Brita had this growing lesion that was contrast enhancing. It's getting bigger. It was this same spot that showed up kind of suddenly back in like March of last year and had been 1 centimeter at the time of discovery, shrunk down to zero point 0.5 centimeters, and then sort of has grown back after chemo, radiation, and Tipsovo. Okay. So what do? You got a spot that's like zero point 0.8, then it's 1.1 centimeters growing, and the tumor board meets kind of gives you different options in terms of what you can do. Lots of intelligent people come together from different perspectives and specialties, say, hey, what can we do for this patient? And then the oncologist reports back. And essentially the options we were given were basically do nothing, watch and just see what happens, which is not unreasonable. The spot's 1.1 centimeters, but it was zero point 0.8 not too long ago and 0.5 not too long ago before that. So the odds of it being something worth pursuing are pretty high. Second option would be go in, do more surgery, kind of carve it out. That has pros and cons. Pros being you get rid of it and get pathology. Cons being you don't always get all of it. Remember, we've had 2 surgeries before where we thought, gosh, you cut everything you can away. That shows up on MRI, but certainly things still grow back. And part of the reasons for that is just brain tumors are designed to sort of invade. They're usually gliomas, right? The glue cells between neurons, like they're made to wiggle their way through brains. So it's almost impossible to eradicate them through surgery. In fact, it is pretty much impossible to eradicate them through surgery alone. Um, People thought, well, maybe we could irradiate the area again, but that doesn't seem like a very viable option. Brita's had a ton of radiation through that. Then the other option was this thing called LIT, which is laser interstitial thermal therapy. Essentially, what you do is you take you drill a hole and you wire a fiber optic down to the tumor, and then you turn on a big old laser and cook the thing. In the words of explaining this to Perrin, our kid who's 6, he said, "Cancer will burn," and I'm like, that's pretty much exactly it. And for Brita, that's probably the most optimal answer. It is a thermal therapy. It's not like your tumor, your stuff burns. Everything burns. There's not like a resistance to burning. Like it in particular will be pretty effective therapy in probably destroying that area, right? And you keep it very well dialed and well timed in terms of burning it. And the advantage is you sort of get some tissue surrounding it, like there's some collateral damage, but also that invading part of the tumor, you get some of that too. So I think the thermal therapy makes the most sense. It also keeps their options open for the future. Just if, suppose this is pretty effective and it works well for this particular area, you can always go back and do more surgery, the removal kind. Um, the radiation therapy I still think is probably off the table at this point. So really you're left with laser or surgery. So we picked laser. They'll do exactly that. They'll go in, burn it. But before they do, they will go and also take a piece of it. Essentially, the biopsy really will be about the size of what the surgery would have been anyway, 1.1 centimeters. You just take a 1 centimeter sample and you've got a good amount of it. So we can kind of get a decent idea of what this is, and we'll probably capture exactly what it is. My guess is it's essentially just growing tumor. Even the neurosurgeon was kind of like, yeah, like 80-20, it's probably tumor or 20% something else. Those other things being essentially tumor necrosis, which is exactly like it sounds, like necrotic tissue. It's just dying, and that needs to go anyway. And the other option would be gliosis, which is a fancy way of saying brain scars. And it's unusual for a brain scar to kind of keep growing after months, but it can, So I think if I was super, super optimistic, you'd go into a biopsy. It's just a scar. We're not even going to burn it. But I think most folks are kind of leaning towards this is probably recurrent tumor that needs to be addressed physically, either through burning or excision. So we chose the laser option. That means that Britta's going for surgery instead of going to the Global Missions Health Conference this Thursday. So she will basically check in at U of M, and I'll be there, and we'll go ahead and do the surgery. They're anticipating basically Britta being in the ICU for 2 nights. she has some unusual restrictions. Well, not unusual, but just things like that protect her from essentially her brain's going to swell a lot more than surgery. And you give patients like this steroids and a no water diet for a while too. And if you're interested in the pathophys there, we can talk about that later. But she'll do that. That's the story. In the background to this, I'm just like, I feel fortunate in that the timing sort of worked out. That this is one of my kids' things. Sorry, the timing worked out, and that I'd planned to go and see basically a conference anyway, so I didn't have to schedule any patients, reschedule or move anything. It worked out really well. I'll still do my best to attend the conference virtually. I'll have plenty of downtime in Brita's room and waiting. And I think it just gives me something to think about besides tumor. So grateful for that. Bummer that Brita and I can't be there in person. But you know what? We want to be there next year. So we will do our best for that. In the meantime, things are sort of moving forward with, I mean, by sort of, I mean they are moving forward with surrogacy. There's still some time to put brakes on that. When is there a good time to have a kid? I've talked with a lot of really close people about this decision. There's wisdom in lots of counsel, and even the counsel of people I've asked have been kind of mixed, but probably more, if I had a consensus in myself and the people I've talked to, it just seems like more of just, go for it, do the surrogacy piece. And I think I've got peace about it. It's just, I think it just needs to happen. And it is what it is. Yeah. And if you want to talk about that, we can. We can have a long conversation about it. Certainly more than the few minutes I've been talking here. But you can pray for that in the background of all this and all the logistics that need to work out for that to happen. Or for it to not happen, if that's, kind of the God's wisdom piece of it too. I was doing the cold kind of numbers on it, and even if everything works out perfectly, most people would say you got about like an 85 to 90% chance of getting one kid with the number of eggs that we have, and that's pretty good, right? But that still means that, get 10 people who all have the same situation I did, one person walks away without a kid. So, is what it is. I think the encouragement that I have is just being part of a wonderful community of people literally around the planet who support us, and I'm just grateful for all of you, and just so privileged or honored, blessed to be in a situation where I really do have friends all over the planet, and people really do care about us, and it's an amazing thing to be cared for and loved. And I'm grateful for all of you as usual. We had a beautiful moment in church today where Brita and I get up front, people just pray for us, and I'm just thinking just all the really, really cool people who are there, all the really cool people who are present spiritually too, and just around us. And I don't know, you just gotta take it all in, just how gorgeous it is to have this be our life. And gorgeous is, things can be beautiful and still be painful, friends. Okay, yeah, and it just is. It really is a beautiful thing. It's not exactly what I wanted, and no, it definitely is not what I wanted. But I think in terms of the response to it, it is just a beautiful thing. So again, I'm kind of mumbling and rambling here, but just grateful for all of you. So Thursday, November 6 or 7, whatever that day is, this Thursday, that is her surgery. And I'll give people an update after that surgery, how things went, but give me a couple days on that. So thank you. Love you. Bye.